Hello, welcome to our fourth video in the Chapter 1 series. We're still dealing with linear functions, and we are now currently on Section 3, Part 2, so second part of Section 3. And today we're going to talk about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. So the objective of this section is to find an equation of a line that are parallel and perpendicular. Okay, so we're going to find equations of lines that are strictly talking about parallel and strictly talking about perpendicular lines. So to recap, let's recall what we know about parallel lines. If there are lines that do not ever intersect, they are parallel, and we know that their slopes are equal. Okay. So very important. If you have parallel lines, slopes are equal. And if we have lines that are perpendicular, meaning they form 90-degree angles, we know that their slopes are opposites and reciprocals. Okay, so they're opposites and reciprocals. So please remember, if you have a slope of 4/3, our new slope would be negative 3/4. So if our original slope is 4/3, our perpendicular slope is negative 3/4. You have to take the reciprocal and you have to do the opposite signs. So that will help us answer a lot of our questions that we're going to have in this particular section. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through a few examples that you will see in your homework and your assignments. So example 1, it says find the equation of the line that has a y-intercept. Okay, so y-intercept of negative 3. Remember, y-intercept is b, and is parallel to 2x plus 5y equals 8. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Once again, we're going to start with our equation y equals mx plus b. And we're going to plug in what we know. So far, all we know is that we have a y-intercept of negative 3. So what I did is, for b, I plugged in negative 3. Okay? And the next piece of information that it tells us is that it's parallel to this equation. So what we need to do with that equation is somehow come up with a slope. And if we can come up with a slope, we'll be able to know that that is the same slope as this equation because it says that they're parallel. And we know that parallel lines have the same slope. So what we're going to do is we're going to get y by itself. Okay. So what we first should start off by doing is subtracting 2x from both sides. 2x minus 2x is 0. I'm left with 5y equals negative 2x plus 8. Remember, always bring down the x term first. Now, last step is to divide by 5. Divide by 5. 5's cancel. Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 8/5. So, when we're looking at this equation, we know that negative 2/5 is our m and 8/5 is our b. However, we're only interested in the slope. We're only interested in the slope. So, here is our slope. It's telling us in the original problem that they are parallel, so we know that they have to be the same. So our final equation is y equals negative 2/5 x minus 3. That is our final answer. So they are parallel, they have the same slope, but they have different y-intercepts. This one has a y-intercept of negative 3, this one has a y-intercept of positive 8/5. So they are parallel because they have the same slope. Moving on to example 2. It says find the equation of a line that goes through 1, negative 4 and is perpendicular to 2x minus y equals 4. So right off the bat, they give us an x value, they give us an x value, they give us a y value, and they give us an equation over here. Okay. So once again, I'm going to start with y equals mx plus b. And we need m and we need b. So the only thing I can get from right now is I can get a slope from our equation. So we're going to solve for y again. So I'm going to subtract 2x. So I'm left with negative y equals negative 2x plus 4. I'm going to divide by -1 to get rid of the negative. I'm left with y equals positive 2x minus 4. And from this, we can gather that we have a slope of 2. Oops, I meant to write m here, not, and we have a y-intercept of -4. So, but we have to remember that our original problem says that the lines are perpendicular. So if our slope is 2, our new slope is going to be opposite sign and the reciprocal of 2 over 1, which would be 1 over 2. So this is our new slope, which is -1/2. So I can go plug that back into our original problem and say that our slope is -1/2x. Okay? And then now lastly, we need to use the other piece of information that they give us, which is our point 1, -4. So we're going to plug in 1 for x, -4 for y. So -4 equals -1/2 times 1 plus b. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve for our remaining variable, which is b. So -4 equals -1/2 times 1 is -1/2 plus b. And how do I get -1/2 onto the other side? I have to add 1/2 to both sides. I have to add 1/2, add 1/2, -1/2's go away, I'm left with b equals -4 plus 1/2. So I need a common denominator. So our common denominator is 2. 1 times 2 is 2, -4 times 2 is -8, plus 1/2. And lastly, what will that give us for our b value? -8/2 plus 1/2 is -7/2. So, what do we have here? We have b, we have our m. I should be able to write my equation, which will be y equals -1/2x, because that's my slope, minus 7 over 2, because that is my b value that we calculated. So there you have it. There is our final answer. So, very good. Example, moving on, we have a definition. We need this definition in order to answer the next question. It says perpendicular bisector. In geometry, bisection is the division of something into 2 equal parts. So if I cut this, bisection means that those two are the same. The perpendicular part means that it also forms right angles. So we do know that this point right here is really called the midpoint. So a perpendicular bisector cuts a line in half, 2 equal parts, and it forms 90-degree angles. Hence, we have the name perpendicular bisector. Okay, so that's a review from geometry. We need that information in order to do the next example. So it says, find an equation of a perpendicular bisector of a segment of a line joining -2, 3, and 4, -5. Okay, so basically what we have here is we have a segment where one endpoint is -2, 3, and the other endpoint is 4, -5. So what we can do is you could plot that on a grid to see it more further, or you can just follow along with what we do here. Okay, anytime you find the perpendicular bisector, we need to find a slope, because we know it's perpendicular, so we're going to need to find a new slope. So first we have to find the slope, y2 minus y1. So we're going to subtract our y's. So we have 3 minus a -5. And then we're going to subtract our x's, which is -2 minus 4. To get plus plus, we have 8 over -6, which reduces to -4/3. Okay, so that's step 1. That is the slope of this line right here, -4/3. However, we need the slope of our perpendicular bisector. What do we know about perpendicular bisectors? They're opposite signs. So instead of a -4/3, it's going to be a positive. and it's going to be the reciprocal. So our new, oops, I don't know why I wrote that down. Our new slope is opposite signs, so it's going to be a positive because we have negative 4/3, and the reciprocal is 3/4. So this is the slope that we are using. Next thing we have to do is find the midpoint. Step C says find the midpoint. So we're going to use our midpoint formula, which we learned a couple sections ago. So we are going to add our x's divided by 2. We're going to add our y's and divide by 2. Okay, so back up at the top, our x's are negative 2 and 4. Our x's are negative 2 and 4. So we have negative 2 plus 4. And our y's are 3 and negative 5. So we have 3 and negative 5. So let's figure out what our midpoint is here. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2 divided by 2. And then we have 3 plus negative 5, which is negative 2 divided by 2. So our final midpoint is 1 comma negative 1. All right. So we have our slope, and we have a point on the line, and what we can do now is we can find our new equation. Okay, so we're going to use that information. So let me just recap. We are going to use our midpoint, which is 1, negative 1, and our slope, which was positive 3/4. So positive 3/4 to find our new equation, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we know our slope is 3/4. We know we have a y value of negative 1. We know x is our first number, which is 1, and that will help us find our b value. So let's continue on here. Let's see what we get. Negative 1 equals 3/4 times 1 is 3/4 plus b. I need to extend the page here a little bit. Okay, so continuing on, how do I get rid of a positive 3/4? I get rid of a positive 3/4 by subtracting 3/4 from both sides. So we have negative 1 minus 3/4 equals b. Okay, so lastly we need a common denominator, which is, put this over 1, we have 4. Common denominator, negative 1 times 4 is 4, so we have negative 4. Negative 1 over 1 is the same as negative 4 over 4, and the second one stays the same. So we have negative 4/4 minus 3 more 4s is negative 7/4, which is our new b value. Okay, so we are finally done. Our new equation is slope is 3/4, and our b value is negative 7/4. So that is by far the longest problem that we have done so far. So let's just recap. First, you need to find your slope. Next, you need to find the perpendicular slope, which is opposite reciprocals. Then you need to find the midpoint. And then you need to use these two pieces of information with y equals mx plus b to get your equation, and then you are done. Please don't worry, we will make sure we do some of these in class. They are pretty tough. Once again, this is Chapter 1, Section 3, Part 2. And now we are officially done with Section 3. There will be a quiz after this particular section. So thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.